Yo, what up folks? Today we're talking about Demolition Red. Now, if you've been playing the game for a long time, you might remember a card from Scars of Mirrodin called Kuldotha Rebirth. One single red mana, sacrifices an artifact to additional caster cost, but then makes 3 goblins. And we had a sort of functional reprint in Phyrexia called Gleeful Demolition, except it's got a couple of exceptions. Red for destroy target artifact. If you control that artifact, create 3 Phyrexian goblin tokens, but importantly, it's not a cost and you're not sacrificing. Which means we can use things like Darksteel Citadel. And we're kind of playing from there, building like a kind of artifact matters aggro deck, taking advantage of Cavalcade, Calamity, and Mechanized Warfare as well. And like some early mana generation with like Ornithopter Springleaf Drum, which then you either can like turn into damage with Cavalcade, creatures with Demolition, or accelerate out like early Mechanized Warfare. Pretty interesting. And takes advantage of some cards that have kind of been a bit unloved in the format for a while. And so let's get into it. So starting things off at 0, we have Ornithopter, 4 copies. Simply, 0 mana O2. Incredibly good with Springleaf Drum, triggers Cavalcade, is free, and then gives you another free artifact if you need something to Demolition, or sacrifice to Voltage Surge, which is kind of your staple piece removal spell. Then we have Bowmat Courier. It's kind of the power of the deck versus more grindy mid-range things where your opponent's going to be playing a lot of kill spells. Obviously struggles a little bit more where your opponent's going to go on the ground, but hey, 1 mana for a 1/1 with haste. When it attacks, it's a stop card in your library face down, and then once you've played your hand out, because obviously the curve in this deck is very low, you can then discard your hand and sacrifice it to get all the new cards. So super strong, lets you refill, is really important for beating like control and that kind of thing. We have Gleeful Demolition itself. We have a bunch of targets. Obviously the best thing to hit is Darksteel Citadel, because obviously you get to keep it and you just make 3 1/1s. In a pinch, I've not blown up my opponent's stuff yet, but it does also have that mode on it. You are randomly playing a bunch of shatters, which can be kind of nice. Then we have Phoenix Chick, kind of like the best card with Cavalcade, really. 1 mana for 1/1 flying with haste. It can't block, but if you attack with 3 more creatures, which we can do fairly well in the deck, you can pay red to send it from your graveyard, tapped and attacking. Pretty strong. We have Voldaren Epicure, which does a lot here. So ETB deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, nice. It's a 1 mana creature that can attack with Cavalcade. It generates artifacts which you can loot away, sacrifice to things, like Voltage Surge, or blow up with Gleeful Demolition. And hey, you want all that stuff. Excellent. Oh, it's also worth noticing that like we don't have Shrapnel Blast in Explorer yet. That would be a huge pickup, so maybe we get that in Explorer Anthology 3 whenever that comes out. Voltage Surge is our removal spell of choice here. 2 damage, target creature or planeswalker, and then hey, if you've got a bunch of artifacts to sacrifice to make it do4, it's got a lot of flexibility. It deals with quite a lot in the format. Obviously it doesn't kill Shoulder Red, but we can't have everything. And then we have Gingerbrute. Another excellent 1-drop. Again, it's an artifact, which matters here, but the ability to be unblocked to get in more damage with Cavalcade. Notably, it's also quite good with the third ability on your Yoshi Declares War, which we'll get to in a minute. And then we have 4 Springleaf Drum. So Springleaf Drum plays an interesting role in the deck. Obviously, we want artifacts to blow up Demolition anyway. We're playing Ornithopters. We've got a bunch of artifacts to accelerate us. We also want to play a reasonably low land count and be able to like play Mechanized Warfare early, empty our hand to then refill with Bowmat Courier. And so Springleaf Drum does a really good job of letting us do that. We're playing 4 Springleaf Drum with 17 lands. 4 copies of Cavalcade, one of the centerpiece cards of the deck really, 1 in a red enchantment. Whenever a creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, Cavalcade deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. Triggered by all our creatures here, notably does combine really well with Mechanized Warfare. It's just kind of the thing tying that together gives you like a real surge of damage. Obviously, when you're making 3 1/1 goblins, you're immediately getting some very fast damage. You've hands where you're like, okay, cool, Ornithopter, Darksteel Citadel, Springleaf Drum, Gleeful Demolition, and all of a sudden you've got 4 attackers for Cavalcade on turn 2, which is really strong. Yoshi Declares War. I've seen this card crop up in a couple of places, but this is a really nice home for it. We see the first mode creates an Ornithopter. It does have read ahead, so you can skip to the later ones if you'd like to. The second mode gives you some removal. Tap any number of untapped artifacts you control when you do Yoshi Declares War. Deals that much damage to a creature or planeswalker, so you can use to shoot things off. That third ability, though, is really important as well. Up to 1 target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/4 on a turn. Doesn't have to target a creature, can go onto like a Springleaf Drum, give you another attacker. Can obviously power up Ornithopter or Gingerbrute to give you an attacker with evasion. All 3 modes fairly strong. And then the last thing here is Mechanized Warfare. 1 red. If a red or artifact source you control does both, would deal damage to the opponent or permanent opponent controls, deals that much damage plus 1 instead. We've got 3 copies here. I didn't want to play 4. We are playing, again, we've got 21 mana sources, and while we can accelerate it out, having multiples again, you end up stuck in your hand, you need a critical number of actual, like, spells to cast. Importantly, again, each of these Cavalcade triggers would do 2 damage. Obviously, all the other effects, Epicure. Land. So we've got our 4 Dark Citadels, obviously, maybe the best card on the deck with Gleeful Demolition anyway. We've got a single copy of Sekenzin. Unfortunately, these tokens are artifacts, so don't trigger Mechanized Warfare, but that's fine. The 4 Rapid Out Ruins is kind of like a, hey, we're playing low lands, but it's upside enough versus like the control and mid-range decks to burn them out that we should still play them, even if it maybe hurts us a little bit. 6 Mountains and then 2 copies of Den of the Bugbear. Again, having man lands versus this control deck is super important when they're going to sweep you, especially against things like Temporary Lockdown, which is really good versus this deck. I'll say it. All together, a pretty sweet and fairly strong, I think, artifact-based aggro deck. We're going to have a look at the sideboard, and then we will get into some ranked matches. I cut a card from here, didn't I? So, first off, we have some Graveyard Hate. We've got, obviously, a bunch of Artifacts Matters cards, so we don't feel too bad about having a bit of an overload on Graveyard Hate as long as it's artifact-based. So we've gone for 3 copies of Scrabbling Claws. The tap, exile a card from each target player, exile a card from the graveyard, and then sacrifice it, exile target card, draw a card. And then we also have 2 copies of Unlicensed Size, which obviously we can crew up and get in with the red zone as well. Versus mid-range and control stuff, we've got 4 copies of Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It's basically the best thing you can bring in versus them. It kind of loots away your dead cards, obviously, like, depending on how your draws work out. Obviously, it makes 2 threats, gives them 2 different things they need to deal with, and then being able to go off, obviously, with Reflection is good wherever, yeah, don't really need to go too much detail here. 2 copies of a Braid, versus things like Greasefang, where you want to kill creatures. Have some additional things along with Voltage Surge. But then also there's a few other matches where you just want extra removal. It's aggro. And then these 4 copies of Ravenous Intruder are actually kind of interesting. Ravenous Intruder is a really good way to finish the game early. Versus combo, you don't have a ton of time. And so Ravenous Intruder gives you a way to basically like kill your opponent on turn 3. That's pretty much why it's here. And then, yeah, the 2 copies of Unlicensed Huss. We have at the bottom. But yeah, Ravenous Intruder is an interesting one. I was very close to playing in the main deck, but it is like super vulnerable to removal, and obviously versus something like Monogreen, where your opponent's going to make like Cavaliers and Giants and stuff, it's just not that exciting. But versus like Creativity and decks like that, where they're just not playing to the board early, Intruder becomes really, really strong, and you can just close the game out before they can combo off. Right, let's hop into some ranked games. If you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Shadows in 2 weeks, yada yada, loads of decks, all that stuff. Alright, here we go. Alright, interesting hand. So we have Demolition plus like an artifact. The Springleaf Drum gives us an extra mana source, but obviously we also have like Epicure to mana. So I think our turn 1 actually is like play Epicure, then we can either Demolition or go Springleaf Drum Demolition. So you want to keep the Springleaf Drum alive. We want to get the Demolition like out into the into play as soon as possible. So I think I'm gonna keep this, even though it looks a little awkward. Like mana-wise, obviously we prefer to have a second land, but here we are. Yorion on the other side. Get 7. Okay, it looks like they're playing Enigmatic Incarnation. That's what it certainly looks like. This hand just got a bunch better. We still want to Epicure before we play the Demolition, but I think we can do that next turn. So in our hand, the Ornithopter's not really doing anything, right? Yeah, I kind of like this. Yeah, it's not like we have Calamity already. And so going this way is going to put the most pressure on. Especially if we can find a land to get Mechanized Warfare out. In really good shape. So we get to learn a little bit. We've got the presence here. I was going to say, maybe they have a trial. That is a land. It's going to let us Warfare. I'm just going to play this turn. Any of these will do. And now rocking up a bunch of damage. These Voldemort Epicures are going to do extra damage as well, plus obviously the Phoenix check when it comes down. And now we've got a bunch of pressure on them. They have to respond. They may not have time to immediately like go. Like if they go like tap out for Fable here, they're in a lot of trouble. Deputy Detention. That's one way to play this, but I think it's kind of losing. And if they have... I thought they were going to take the Warfare. Because then it can also block, but I guess they don't actually have the... Sure, actually. I don't mind tapping here. This is going to put them down to 10. Now they have to finally get to Phoenix. Like, if we have this opportunity, we'll try and attack to get to the 2 Epicures. We also have some loots towards, Binding, okay. Leyline Binding probably catches Warfare, but they might go for the... Okay, they do go for the Phoenix Chick. They're going to leave us with the Warfare in play. They could have another Binding here. Bowmat Courier is quite good on the face of it. When we get to attack... means we can kind of make this attack somewhat cost-free. Presumably they block the Bowmat Courier. If they don't, that's also reasonable though. We're just going to let this hit. They're going to fall, we're just going to end turn. We can always get it back and then loot it later on, depending on what they play here. Alright, so here comes the fires. Fable. Okay, that gives them 2 blockers. We still want to attack with this Bowmat Courier, really. We have a lot of pretty good draws here. The Phoenix Trick is worth 2 damage. I'm going to keep the Epicure Black so we can tap that back, because we can tap that for mana with the Springleaf Shrub. And a Bottle Courier here, we're going to sacrifice it, of course. Oh, the Calamity is interesting. I'm not expecting any kind of thoughts to take it from my hand, so I'm going to leave it in hand rather than reveal it now. Also, if we hit a mana source, we can also just fire off the Ramanap Ruins. They need to answer the chick already. It's time for them. So I'm going to Yorion. What does that do? Alright. They have to take something else with the Deputy. They can reset the... Okay, they're going to reset Leyline Binding and let's take both Phoenix Checks. And then Deputy one of our other creatures. Which I think makes sense. We should be all good, just knowing what we have here. They could go for the Mechanized, but that'd be kind of spicy. Let's see what they target. Oh, so they do still some mana untapped. So I'm trying to think what they've cast. Is it just the... They played this tapped, picked up Yorion. I think they've just cast Yorion so far. This is fine. We have to kind of allow that. I'm going to exile the Ornithopter. So far, everything's still fine. Still very much live here. Alright, once you go to combat, we know that we've got... Yeah. Alright, well that's game 1. Let's go into the sideboard. So, we're looking at creatures in play. I don't love their Atlas of Judas here. Similarly with Braids, the Voltage Surge just remove blockers is actually fairly reasonable. I kind of like how we're set up already here. I don't fancy boarding in Fables. Like, we should be trying to kill them and basically go under them instead of trying to kind of like equal out and play more a mid-range plan. I think that's a mistake. Trying to think if there's anything I really don't like in the main deck. All seems good, like... Yeah. Yeah, no, like, actually all fine. We're gonna leave as is, which is not typical. We'll see. That's kind of the explosiveness of the deck. You see we came out really early. They even had the perfect answer for Deputy Detention for all our 1/1 tokens. We kind of had the nuts, but hey. Well, not the nuts, we didn't have the mana, but hey. Yeah. We had a really good opening. This is kind of interesting. We've got triple epic here, only 1 land, and then Mechanized Warfare. We've got no like Springleaf Drum here to kind of get us to 2. Even though we're going to get some loot today and we're on the draw, I think I'm logging this. This looks pretty solid. We may end up having to Gleeful Demolition or Gingerbread. We could actually make that decision a bit later on. I'm trying to work out what I want to put back here. There's also a chance that we put back the Gleeful Demolition. Is that the card? It's that or the Voltage Surge, I think. We have Warfare, we have 2 of the lands. Empty. I kind of like keepsakes, but back voltage surge. Let's do that. My mouse is being a bit funny. Not pick the wrong card. Alright. Let's do Gingerbread, because that gives us the most, like, options for turn 2. It means we don't have to play a thing to Gleeful Demolition. We can attack with it and then and stuff. They're gonna bit Reunion? Okay. Huh? Titan in the graveyard. Interesting. Oh, we want to get Bowmat Carrier up and around and online. I'm trying to think what we want to do with Gingerbread. We could go wide here. Go like double brute, or we could go Gleeful Demolition now. I'm kind of holding on to the Phoenix Chick. This is going to be the best thing on our hand to do those last few points of damage. Well, regardless, we want to attack. Just in case we want to play the Gingerbread. I think I'm committing to playing the Gleeful Demolition on the Gingerbread now. We'll multiply and have the army. This kind of plays to our best line a little bit as well, where we draw a land and just get to make Mechanized Warfare. Oh my gosh. Oh. Both times. That's fine. What is he saying? They're gonna have like a verdict. What does that look like? Let me try and be mana efficient, go Warfare here, pass. And then look to get rid of the rest of our cannons out of our hand and then buy the Bowmat Courier. Oh, I'll pay for the Bowmat Courier. Maybe not into this start. This is also pretty strong, right? But again, we want to get the cards out of our hand. Kind of playing into it a bit here. We'll hold on for now. Not in like an awful hurry to cash this in, but I'm like slightly worried they might have bought it in like into like a couple of Supreme Verdicts or something like that. There's a decent amount of variance in how you set up. So no fires, well no untapped land number 4 is good for us. They do get to go on with the token here. We could choose to block with Bowmat Courier, but I think we get the, because we know we're going to get a couple of damage off the Cavalcade with it. We may as well hold on. It is going to let them play a 4-drop here. Which is a little dangerous. Okay, so they didn't have a play off of it. We now can go Cavalcade. Alright. I mean, that's basically GG. Just doing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. It's game. Alright, well that was a pretty fast first match. We have to fit a couple of them in here. Depending on how we go. I guess the games that the deck wins should be fairly fast. Double Cavalcade hand. Just no lands. Unfortunately. Oh no. Judge! We keep 4. What are we keeping? Just colorless cards? I feel like we should keep the Gleeful Demolition. Put these back. One of the Gingerbreads. Yeah. Sick. Thanks, Wizards. we are playing 17 lands, let the record show. However, like, a lot of those hands are keepable if we have 1 land in them. That's kind of the whole reason. Taking the Gleeful Demolition when we have no colorless land, no colored land for it is... I respect this, because it's the most powerful card, and you may just have good answers for the creatures. It's likely we're playing against black-red, or maybe even mono black, but they're just going to have infinite removal anyway. And the fact that we've already evolved 4 means we're going to have no resources. Oh, it does look like mono black, which is slightly surprising to me. We will drum. No good attacks for us here. I'll make the Gingerbread now. Alright. No thank you. This does now give us cold mana that we can use to cash in the Bowmat Courier, because we are going to need those cards. But this... Yep. Hey, do my job for me. Oh, they can also do this. Okay. That's rough. This isn't what we were looking for. Oh, we got a red source. We'll take it. We're still so far behind. We're more good to forward to double Thoughtseize. There's nothing ready to be done. We have to kind of pray our opponent just has a handful of nothing, and that we just draw our best card every turn. And now would be a good draw for Mechanized Warfare. Ooh, I've been meaning to do a Scourge of Skyclaves deck for a little while. It's on my list. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna leave this away. Ornithopter is fine. We'll pay for this. Oh, no attacks with Aetherborn. I don't want to risk it anymore. So this thing's dependent on the highest life total among players. Which is me at 18 currently. This is a bit of a weird nombo though. It's like, at the point where our life total's kind of like, things go the other way, this starts getting smaller as this gains more life. Double Warlock class. We might get Masked out of the... We might just get Masked if they draw a land. They're also behind... Okay. Well. Never... Don't click the wrong mode on Gingerbrute. My #1 piece of advice. Do I hold on to the Springleaf Drum? Do I play it? Playing it means we've got the third... We've already got the third mana. Fourth mana. What's the downside? Is we have, like, we can lead it to Epic here. I think we keep it in hand at this point. Them not attacking with the Gifted Aetherborn is sus, I would say. Oh, what it's actually doing is making the game look a lot closer than it should do, maybe. Alright. I was gonna say, the thing is, if they don't attack me, the Scourge is staying where it is. Now it's a 4/4, which is a bit more dangerous, I would say. One of my shields down, I don't have any blockers this time. But if I'm attacking the Bowmat Courier, I may as well attack the Epicure as well. Oh. You dumbass. I forgot to activate the ability. Oh dear! Moron. What am I doing? It does mean we get an extra card out of the Bowmat Courier. I say that as we get Masked. There is the Mask for one that I was afraid of last couple of turns. We get a new Epic here. Secretly big brain play with that attack with the Gingerbrute. So, still want to keep the Ornithopter alive because it's providing mana. This is going to be at 7. What are we... They're at 10. This is 4. Gee. I think because of the way this lines up, we actually want to block with the Epic here. They might just have a removal spell, of course. We're gonna have an Ornithopter that we can block with if need be anyway, actually. But, hey. We will see, we'll see. This is looking pretty bad. Ooh. Joke's on you, this is getting smaller. So we actually can kill this thing now? Feels a little dumb, but... yeah. That was the advantage of the line we took. So we go to 3, they go to 14. And they've got so many cards. It's just not happening. But we won't give up yet. So if you're still watching at what is probably about 20 minutes, what do you think about like editing the games down a bit more? How do you feel about that? Do you like seeing all my thought process and me kind of like talking through the decisions? Or are you like, mostly care about seeing how the games go? And we're just done. Alright. Well, game 2. Interesting. Gives the Aetherborn's like a problem. I think this is a favourable matchup. I did not mean to put that scrappling call. It's a problem we've got answers with Voltage. I don't think we want to actually board in more removal spells here. There is a slight worry they've obliterated, but neither of these cards are answering that anyway, so it's fine. In terms of what we're doing, we don't have a ton. We're struggling to keep things in play, which makes like the Mechanized Warfare a little bit worse. Obviously, they give you value over the state of the game. We'd rather have things that like either make more threats to stay to the board, or yeah, that basically. On that note, we also have the Yoshas, which kind of provide some removal. I'm trying to think what else is pretty bad. I do kind of want to just cut one of these, which I think is fair. We're still kind of like, we're still cavalcading as our primary thing. And then one of the other cards, probably... There's something you said about not having all these mana sources in your deck versus control, but being able to just like clock your opponent with a 4 counter is actually pretty solid. I think because we're adding a few more expensive cards, I'm going to cut one of the Yoshis. Just to try and maintain the really low curve. And we still are building Fin for Fables, and that's kind of one of the reasons we want to do that, just so we don't get stuck with a bunch of expensive cards in our hand. Alright. Yeah, so when I say cut the editing, like edit them down a bit, I mean kind of like take out some of the like more dead time where I'm waiting on decisions and kind of show mostly the plays or the what's actually happening. It would allow more games, but also for like better, what's the word I'm looking for? We'll leave it curious, sure. Higher like density of like actual like gameplay basically. The videos. We have a lot. We have a decent amount going on our hand here. We want to cash this in. Because we're not going to cast an extra spell anyway, I think we just want to make the Declares War here. Which will also give us an answer to like a Aetherborn. I'm going to tackle a bit with this first, just to see. They have a removal spell for it. I'm kind of hoping they don't have the Fatal Push. I'm obviously hoping they don't have the Fatal Push. We'll Declares War on 0, on 1. Make the Ornithopter, which will let us kill any pretty much any 2-drop they play. They don't play one, we're not doing anything here, that's fine. I got my Ornithopter. Now we hit a second land, but it's having to play tapped. We kind of still are hoping they don't have a good removal spell here. I'm going to attack with both, just in case they have something crazy. But that's fine. And then we're going to make an Epic here, because we want to use the mana here to loot away one of our dead cards. Maybe, whether it be the Epic here or whatever. Also, we want to kind of, again, while the Phoenix shit comes out from the graveyard, it's also one of the things that they can't block. So there's some advantage keeping it around. We're just going to end here. We do also have our free artifact sacrifice here. I don't want to commit a ton more to the board either. Which kind of is counterproductive with the Bone Mercury, but that's fine. So on the Ornithopter, turn into a 4/4. How do we feel about that? Alright, they're gonna Murder Shrider the Ornithopter. That's fine. That's kind of why we play it. It's all valuable. Do I think they're gonna have a... I think that I want to be able to cash the put my courier in this turn if necessary. Just I'm worried about like Massacre. So I want to have this mana open. We can loot and then we don't. There's not much point in looting and activating, but hey, we've got a bunch of cards under there. I'd rather have the 4 cards than whatever we have in our hand. Alright, land number 4. So looking at like, do they have Sheldred? Okay, Warlock class is interesting. Followed by Cast Murder Shrider. Alright. At this point, I would like to do this. Because we're carrying, we'll sacrifice the bottom. Murder Shrider goes on the bottom. Fair enough. Ooh, this is a good time to draw Cavalcade. Again, we're still going to keep the Bone Mercury mana up. We're not going to play this here for no reason. But these all come into the red zone. And then they're going to go to like 4. Oh. If they don't have a thing to kill at this turn, I will wait and then pop the Bone Mercury for 6, but we've got them pretty much wrapped up if they don't have an answer for our board. Alright, so do I like how we sideboarded? Like they had like a couple pieces of interest in them, but not really interesting. I don't think we've seen a fatal push from them either game, which is wild. They had to be able to play, so we'll go 1. I think we're just gonna keep this as it is. Definitely not a deck we want intruders against. The Abrades kill Gifted Aetherborn, which is relevant, but so do the Voltage Surge and the Yoshis. Maybe I could bring one of these back in on the draw. Seems a bit flimsy. Just so I've got another answer to it. Does seem reasonable. At which point we're cutting a 1-drop. And the Ornithopters are the most lackluster card, but they're also like become the best card with Ringleaf Drum. I'm cutting one of these. Alright. Let's see how we go. Game 3. Okay, this is a really fast start. The only thing that would make this hand better is having a Demolition. If they're the one class to lead with. Ooh, so this is actually... Does this change anything? Like, we can attack Courier, or we can play the Vodera and Epicure and have another artifact to play with Yoshis to blow something up. I think we just get the early damage and the extra card on the Courier. It's fine. And like we're still getting artifacts in play, but obviously this one's gonna be tapped a lot. We have a Voltage Surge. They're gonna level up here. So they're gonna be able to dig a decent amount. Maybe find a Wrath. They put Murder Shrider in the bin in the end here. The thing is this, we'll still have mana untapped. You can hold priority when you're activating these to get both cards. So you can put both triggers on the stack and then... Because the discard your hand is part of the cost. which is super handy. We got Massacre for 1. Do we have the Massacre for 1? Do you have a Massacre for 1? When I run the 2 random cards, the cards here, they're on 16. The Oceans is good. The Voltage Surge without a target is kind of mid. We're not going to get Double Activate. I think we do need this. We keep an Ornithopter around. Those are good cards. Don't necessarily want to play this mountain. Alright, so we can do this. We can then use the mana here. Play Calamity. Immediately again. For one of the Nightmare scenarios, they have another Massacre straight away. I'm going to hold this to lead it to the blood token. So far, so fine. Shieldred's tough. Let's take our draw step. Okay. We have life to play with. I'm gonna sacrifice. We'll loot away this Springleaf Drum. Okay, that doesn't change things a ton. We'll play the Random Appearance. Hit the attack roll button. Alright, let's see. So we can threaten to activate Random Appearance next turn. Just a little awkward. They didn't block. They don't know the one card I have in hand. They're playing around Voltage Surge. There. Warlock class, 4/5 mana left. They're gonna activate, try and dig for a card. Okay. I'm guessing. Extra Shoulder in the bin. Ooh, Cruelty of Kicks. Standard All-Star. Is pretty strong. I was looking at like oh hey, I'm gonna put together like a reanimator list. It was like a bunch of these cards just legal and standard. Yeah, the Massacre is pretty good. Yeah, alright. That's tough. The Mountain not so good. We have 1 draw left, but we're effectively at 3 right now. Less than that, potentially. Oh, we're leveling up in the world. Did it lose life because of the amount they lost each other? Okay. Well, I've never actually seen this smoke again, but we're gonna not quite die to it. New Warlock class. End step we go to 1. My time we died to the Shoulder trigger. Boom. Alright. I think I'll play 1 more. So see you in the next game. Alright. Match number 3. We were recently massacred by Mono Black. When we set our Demolition, with some other stuff going on, obviously the Cavalcade, so it looks pretty solid. We will keep. We do again see a Yorion, but this time with Forest. What does that mean? We'll leave the check. And then next turn, Demolition. It is a slightly awkward like mana thing. If you don't have a colorless card to play. Oh, interesting. I wonder if this is like Bant or I could just... There's a lot of possibilities. To be fair. We want to kill this though. We don't want them to be low at Scobering. I will not sacrifice out of that. We will make a Bone Mat Courier. Alright, so we're going to slow down with Demolition. We maybe look to... Well, we're going to ideally put Cavalcade and Demolition to play next time. Yeah, there's the Fable Passage. We would have been so in trouble. To be fair, I've said a lot of words. This is probably just like Omnath fires. Um, sorry, we'll pay life, no problem. It's an interesting one because they play, depending on the variation, they may be playing more basics now. Some builds play ossification. There's some other stuff going on as well. Obviously, the Fable with Omnath, you want the Fable passages and more basics anyway. I've seen a lot of different Fires builds. I've done some research. That is Omnath colors. There it is, the man himself. So we have the Declares War, but we also have bang, 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 bang. Alright, well, like, double Cavalcade with double Demolition is kind of the nuts. So, again, this is an interesting one. We kind of want to go under. We've seen Lotus Cobras. We are, like, fairly certain they're going to play some stuff to the board on 3, but we might have reasonable answers. However, while we do have answers for, like, Omnath with Voltage Surge, we don't necessarily want a ton of them. I'm trying to work out if this is a matchup we actually want these in. Other than that, again, you can try and bring in Fables here, but then you're playing like into their mid-range getting plan rather than trying to finish them early. So I don't like it. I like the Fables a lot more versus like blue-white Esper Control. The Intruders are interesting. Is there anything I hate? I think these are, again, we've got some stuff floating around out here. Just the ability to, like, Insole is super strong. It also gives us more answers. I don't think this is what we want here. They are playing to the board. Again, like, there's something like creativity, but then not. Or again, like something like blue-white control, where they're not going to have anything onto the board, like except maybe like a shard typing token. Maybe. Okay, so here we've got limited red mana. However, we do have Springleaf from the homie. So we're gonna keep. Kinda interesting. Oh, second Bowmat is kinda good. We're gonna leave a Bowmat Courier still. We wanna get one of these with a bunch of counters on it. Sorry, with a bunch of cards under it. Okay. This looks a bit funny. I'm gonna make a new courier. Tap the new courier. Demolition and Dark Steel Citadel. Hopefully they don't have like a breaker for the Springleaf Drum. Okay, tap line seems good. Alright, do you have a natural red source here? I'm just gonna make Cavalcade. So we kind of want to keep a creature back. They're binding. Okay. Presumably for the Cavalcade. Yeah, that's fine. It does allow us to put the Phoenix Chick out. Do we want to do that, or do we want to be able to... So if we play it out now, we're vulnerable to like Fire's Verdict next turn. Obviously, they don't have the mana to do that without a Verdict. I think we do want to make the Chick, and then look to just drop the Warfare and play next turn. But it is kind of shields down on the Bowmat Couriers. It's a tough one because they obviously can't cast a spell, but if they just have like Flyers and the one of Verdict or whatever, it's post-board at this point. Oh, that's going to do it. Alright. Well, there we go. very, very sweet deck, and as you can see, pretty competitive as well. I've got a couple of pretty fun things planned over the next like week or so. It's about a week now until Shadows comes out on the 21st. So the next thing I have up is Mill. So hey, if you're not already, please do hit that subscribe button, like the video, and if you've got anything particular you want to see, either now before Shadows comes out or after Shadows comes out, I'm focusing kind of on that stuff, then do let me know in the comments as well. Other than that, take care, have a great day, thanks for watching, peace out.